if you have been using Nikon F lenses, you would notice that all the Z lenses, they are smaller, lighter, and it feels wrong. But in fact, there's a lot of things that are right about the lenses. Professionally, I am not a macro photographer. As far as macro photography goes, I do that in a wedding to shoot wedding rings, to shoot those details in the wedding venues. I love using macro lenses because they've got shallower depth of field and it's got a nice bokeh. But over the last week or so, Nikon Australia has loaned me this lens, the new MC 50mm f2.8 lens. It's just been released, it's not even on market yet. I think in Australia that would be about end of June to be available. And I must say, I am impressed, astonished with the result this tiny lens can produce. This lens comes with this little lens hood that screw onto the front of the lens. Very cute, huh? Very cute. First of all, this is very compact and very light. This is only 260 grams. This is unreal. Even the small macro lens of the F lens, the 60mm, that still weighs 425 grams. So this 260 grams is a big change. The next thing that I like about this lens is it's got this focus limiter switch. It allows the camera not to track focus unnecessarily if you only shoot an object that is this close to the lens. Another pretty cool thing about this tiny lens is the macro reproduction ratio is 1:1. What it means by 1:1 reproduction ratio is, let's say if you shoot with a full frame sensor camera, the size of the sensor is 24mm by 36mm. And if you shoot an object that is 36mm in length, that object can easily fill up the entire frame. And guess what? It's weather sealed, so reliable. I took this to the snow last week. I had close to zero worry about the camera and the lens. So it's so good. It's peace of mind, man. It's peace of mind. This lens has a minimum focusing distance of 16 centimeters to allow that 1:1 reproduction ratio. And that 16 centimeters, what it means is, it does not mean that 16 centimeters from the tip of the lens to the subject, but that 16 centimeters actually calculated based on where the sensor on the camera is to the subject. Now you might be asking, how do you know how far the sensor camera is inside this body? I'm telling you now, it's a secret. If you see this little sign, this little symbol right here, this means that this is where the sensor aligns inside this body. So that minimum focusing distance of 16 centimeters, it's calculated based on where the sensor is to the subject, not from the tip of the lens to the subject. One thing to remember. Okay, the next things. Ouch. This lens is very sharp. For the lens that is this tiny, this is amazingly sharp. Now let's check out the sharpness, shall we? Alright, so this is 100% crop. Look at the sharpness here. Look at the details there. Beautiful. As you can see, it's f10 at 400th of a second. Beautiful. This is also 100% crop. As you can see, it's pretty sharp, man. It's so sharp. I love it. Now, macro. To give it a context, this is basically the size of the flowers. I'm going to show you the close-up version of this. And this is 100% crop. Look at these water bubbles. They are beautiful and so sharp. Look at that. To give it a context about the size, this is a dollar coin and this is the petals, and this is a close-up version of it. That little insect, I didn't see it when I was taking photos because I was blinded by the sun, but I saw a black dot. I was just trying to focus on that black dot and it happened to be the insect. Look at these droplets right here, man. It's so sharp. Now, as far as the versatility of this lens, this is the way I'm looking at this. It does well for portraits. It does well for macro, no questions about that. You've seen the result. It does pretty good sunburst, and it's 50mm focal length, which is very common and versatile itself anyway. With those in mind, instead of getting 150mm lens plus another macro lens of your choice, and having two lenses, this lens does it all. Alright, now, who's this lens for? This lens would suit for someone who's got budget, or maybe just prefer to purchase one lens, but to cover that 50mm focal length as well as that macro capability, instead of having two separate lenses for two separate purposes. Now, who else need to have this lens? I reckon wedding photographer and videographers. I am a wedding photographer myself, and the logistic that we have can often be overwhelming. Look at this. If I want to simplify my logistic as a wedding photographer, this lens can be easily way to go. So any simplified version of our equipment, yes please. Who else do I think will need this lens? I reckon travelers, hikers. If you love bushwalking, if you love hiking, I reckon this lens is for you. I had been hiking with such logistic, then I was only able to carry a body and a lens, and I decided to carry my 50mm 1.4 at a time. However, there are circumstances that I saw little mushroom, the details of texture of the flowers, the leaves. I just couldn't get the macro shots of that. And again, for travelers and hikers, anything that can simplify the logistics, that is lighter and smaller and more compact, yes please. This beautiful lens costs about 1,099 Australian dollars. Whether this is affordable or not, that's very subjective. But for professional that need to get the work done, that needs to nail the quality of the work, I reckon that's a fair price to pay. Alright, so that's all my thoughts and my experience after using this lens for such short period of time. So if there's anything that I missed to cover and you want to know, chuck that in the comments down below. I will do my best to get back to you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope that this has information that you're looking for when you start clicking this video from the very beginning. So thank you so much for making it until the end. Really appreciate that. And as usual, please make this world a better place. Peace out.